What is going on, guys? This is All Gaming with my review of Magi, the Kingdom of Magic, episode 25. And here we are, we're at the end, and this ending right here for Magi, it was just freaking insane. I loved it from beginning to end. It was just a heartwarming episode. Even though we got like a lot of action at the beginning, it was definitely good throughout the entire episode. And so now we see that we have all these magicians. They are now, carrying these civilians here to safety, which is good because I am glad that the magicians here they aren't abandoning, the people. And so now we see Sinbad and his forces. We see now that they're all attacking the medium, and we see now that they actually can't get through with Borg. They're doing all these attacks, and it's still not working. Even when like Morgiana actually, attacked it as well, her kicks are having no effect against it. And so now they're wondering, like what can they do? And they definitely need help. And they definitely, call for backup. And who did they get? They actually get Mu. As we see with that, with his own, gen equip, he is actually able to pierce through the Borg, which is definitely pretty awesome. And so now we see the other two Metaversal users of the Liam Empire, and we actually see one of them definitely are in their gen equip form, but we see now that the other one, I believe that he's a prince, he can actually use his gen equip. And so that what they go to show you, even like this guy's kind of like Alibaba, where we all know that Alibaba couldn't use his gen equip, till after he went to the Liam Empire. And even though this guy was like always there, he still can't use it. But I do wonder what kind of gen does he have, because it would be awesome to see him, rocking that gen equip so that he can fight like everybody else. But now with the Borg, finally broken, they want to attack the medium, but because they have no Magi, it's kind of difficult to do that. And so now we have the Magi of the Liam Empire. We have her performing her final act, where she actually uses her magic to replenish the Magi of everybody else. So once again, we see all of the, co-siblings, they actually use their gen equips. And of course we have Alibaba, using that as well. And it seems that Aladdin here was the only one to pick up that, that she died. And so now with all of them, using their gen equips, they all use their extreme magic. And we see now at the center, or the one that actually did the attack himself, it was actually Sinbad. And we see with his, he was actually able to pierce the medium. And that right there, it was 13 Metaversal users using their extreme magics, and you would think that would be enough. But of course, even though the Borg was completely gone now, we see that the medium, it was definitely not destroyed. And so then we have Gurken. She was saying that it took 72 users in Almatoron to defeat one. So she was thinking that it's impossible for like 13. It was impossible for 13 users to actually take one down. But now we see that even though the medium, it is still around, we see that it's actually struggling. And we see that even though it should be made out of black Ryuk, there is like this one speck of pure white that is actually causing it to hesitate. And so now we have Yunnan here, who is kind of dropping hints, and Aladdin, definitely picked up on that because he knew who was inside the core, and he also knew, the person or who was responsible for that speck of light. And so now we have Yam here. She actually wants to go with Aladdin, and he actually used the Solomon wisdom to actually go into the medium. And so now we see that they're like in some kind of tower. But when they fall here, we see Mogamed. He's now in like this cage, and he has Titus by his side in like a pure white, Ryuk form. And so now that they're talking, I'll just get to the gist of it. We basically, have Mogamed reflecting on his own actions, and he realizes, where he went wrong, and if he would have done things, differently, then the whole outcome could have been avoided. And not only that, he actually wants Aladdin to find a way, because he actually above this world rules, so he could possibly do this. He actually wants to find a way to return the black Ryuk to the white flow, because as we all know, once they fall and then Ryuk comes back, there was no turning back for them. And so now Mogamed wants to leave this task in Aladdin's hands, because Aladdin here was thinking that, that this could be possible. It's just that nobody has found a way to do this so far. And so now we have Yam, who was definitely quiet for like the most part, but she was actually, like rather grateful to the guy, because he did raise her and all. And not only that, on the day that he took her out the palace, it was, I believe, on the same day or the next day, but they were actually going to kill her. So he actually saved her life, and she is grateful to him. And we see now that like Mogamed, he actually does turn around, and because even though they say that black people cannot return to the white flow, it definitely kind of seems like that, because once Mogamed here finally come back to reality, and his whole like aspect on things changes. We see that even the tower that he's in, that begins to change, and we see now, and we see something connected like to his cage here, and like this mess, I guess you can call it. It actually turns white, and soon enough the entire tower here it's turned white as well. And now we see that right there is affecting the medium as it slowly starting to crack. And not only that, Mogamed, even though they all, wanted to save him and bring him back, he actually couldn't do that, because we see now that all of these people that he caused to fall, they are now, surrounding this tower, and they're looking into it, and you could just tell, that they are definitely, full of hate. And so now, because of that, he did not want to abandon them, but I'm pretty sure that, that he didn't have a choice, because we see when we saw a body, and at Titus' body, there was like nothing but bones left. And not only that, we actually saw Splinters, who actually came across Titus. He saw Marga, she was unconscious, and luckily he got out of there, but he did find Titus' remains, and I'm pretty sure that he also saw Mogamed as well. And so now we see that once Mogamed here has now, accepted his fate, and it's come around now, he's accepting, what he has to do, because he still has one more job. And now we see that while he was like walking away, he actually gave Titus here the okay to pass on, which was happening eventually. And we see now that Yam here, she's running after him, but he actually drops his wand, and we see now that's kind of making like this plant barrier to like keep him out. I mean, to keep her out. And I feel that, that he did this for own protection, because maybe Yam wouldn't win so far as to actually go with him, because this is the guy that, raised her and gave her a child after all. He is her father, so maybe, she was so emotion driven that she possibly would have went with him no matter where he went. And so now we see that the medium, it was actually destroyed now. And of course, everybody, can finally take a breather and relax, because it's now gone. And we see that once Aladdin here actually comes to, we see Yam is already up, and I'm not sure how she got it, but we saw her holding on to Mogab's wand, and she cried over it. But now even Aladdin was sad, but luckily he got over that rather quickly, as we saw Morgiana and Alibaba, they had came to his side now. And so then we go to the Sacred Palace, where we all know where Hugo is, and we see that the Magi of the Lamb Empire, she's now there. And not only that, we now have a departed Titus, because he just left the medium's body, and so he's now there as well. And they're like in these kind of like definitely not humanish forms, but they're more like what's the word to say? I'm not really sure here, but you guys know that the form that they were in, and it seems like that the old Magi of the Lamb Empire, she is now kind of like passing the torch to the to Titus here. And now we have Goyoku and Al-Thamen. They are now rather celebrating, because even though the medium, it was destroyed, they had made a hole into this world by bringing down the black spot. And so that right there was like definitely a celebration. And it was kind of messed up how she called Mogamed useless, but they're already planning on making another medium so that they can bring the black spot down again. So clearly they aren't done yet. And so now we see that everybody's kind of like celebrating right now, but sadly it did not last for that long, because we see that the Co-Empire and Sinbad here, and his alliance, they're now having like a standoff. And so of course right now everybody kind of freaking out because there could be a huge fight breaking out. Because even though the battle with the medium just ended, it does not mean that these two forces are just going to go back to their respective kingdoms peacefully. But we have Aladdin here trying to trying to put a stop to this, and we have Yunnan as well. Yunnan actually got involved as well, and so now we actually learn that the old Magi of the Lim Empire, she actually made this alliance now with Sinbad. So the Liam Empire and Sindara, they are now, like allies to one another. And we all know that the only two forces that could possibly oppose the Co-Empire was Liam and Sindara. And now that these two forces, have joined together, clearly, it's not looking good for the Co-Empire. Oh, and also it was definitely interesting when like Mogamed here was like throwing shots at Sinbad, because he actually had this message to give out to Magnoshot, where he was saying that nobody is better than anybody. So like basically everybody is equal, and even though one person can have even though one person can have like 100 times the power of somebody else, like, and we saw Sinbad right there, so clearly that right there was like a shot at him. He was saying that even that guy cannot be entrusted with everything, because everybody makes mistakes, so everybody has to work together. And that goes to show you that even Mogamed here, he was like worried about Sinbad as well. But we see now that even when Cohen was like faced with the possibility of being wiped out by Sinbad and the Lim Empire, he would actually fine with that, as he said that he can have all that, he'll just take Aladdin. And that right there was hilarious, because everybody here was like freaking out. But Sinbad actually he actually gets rid of his gin equip, and we see now that everybody else follows him. And so now we're seeing that it's calming down, and there's really like no tension between them. And then we go back to and I forgot to mention that Al-Thamen and like they were kind of worried about the old Magi of the Liam Empire coming back, because she actually had one more clone, I guess, waiting. And we see now that this clone here, it was actually given to the Titus. And so now we have Spintus and all the other magicians, they are now landing. And Spintus here had Marga. And when she asked about Titus, everybody kind of got quiet here. But then we saw, this like balloon fly toward everybody. And we had a finalist jump down, and he had this like message for Mu. But he was so nervous that he couldn't get the words out. But Marga here, who I'm guessing, like saw that white butterfly, the Ryuk, she already knew what it meant, and so she actually ran there. And we see, Titus now with like now looking even more feminine, because his hair was like so freaking long. But it seems that he kind of forgot who he is, but he actually remembered everybody else. And so now we get this like really happy ending, but it's not all happiness, as we saw Judao and Hakaru, or Hakure, however you want to say it. We saw Judao, like absorbing all of this black Ryuk. So even though the medium was destroyed, Judao now has all that Ryuk that was like opposed of it. So he's clearly getting, a major power up now, because he is the only dark Magi. So it is interesting to see him, get this much power. And even Hakaru, or Hakure, he was now apologizing to, Aladdin, Alibaba, and Morgiana, because he now turned his backs on them, and he's now going with Judao. So these two are kind of like working together, and we see that they're gone. But Alibaba here, I believe that he sensed them. So that right there was definitely a nice little twist at the end, because he did not show up, but he was there watching. So that right there was like definitely cool. I can't wait to see what kind of impact these two will have on the story. And that right there was like basically the ending. So I actually gotta say, I am glad that this season, it definitely followed the manga throughout, because I do believe in the first one that there were like some like changes here and there. But overall, this season of Magi has been incredible. I am so glad that I am reviewing this for you guys, because it was just that freaking good to me. Now, I was thinking about reviewing the manga, but because that I love the anime so much, I am going to wait for season 3. So rather than doing the manga, I'm going to wait for season 3 to come out, because I do read the manga, you know, every time it comes out. So I am up to date in that. And I just gotta say, season 3 is going to be so freaking good. You guys have no idea. It's just going to blow you away. But I'm going to end it at that. But as always, please do not forget to like the video and subscribe. And also, I would love to hear what you thought about this episode. Do you love this season? And how has Magi, you know, like really impressed you? Because I gotta say, this right here was definitely one of the best animes that I watched in a while now. It's that freaking good to me. But as always, you gotta take it easy. And I will see you all next time.